All right. Welcome to Old School, the inaugural edition. This week we're looking at an old classic, Space Quest from Sierra Games. Came out many, many moons ago, and we're going to take a look and see if we can get through this. So, this is one of the earlier adventure games that came out back in the 80s. Sierra Online was one of the prolific producers of some of the earliest computer games that we had that were graphic. We had some text-based things before, but this is where we really start to games become a market, right? You could go. We started having stores popping up where you could buy computer games, and consoles had really taken a dive at this point. So this is where, other than the arcades, this is where you went for your gaming was on computers. Let's see if I can figure out how to. So the gist of a um, adventure game is essentially clicking and navigating your way around the screen, looking for clues or items, any sort of pieces of the whatever puzzle you encounter along the way. And Sierra was, they also made King's Quest, which I'm sure we'll do at some other point. This is really one of the first, um, to my knowledge, you're really looking at games in ways. Well, we had graphic games beforehand, for sure. These are some where they really started to take on the form of literature, right? You didn't have these sort of abstractions that we had with, say, an Atari 2600 or Pac-Man. Even if you're looking at your arcade games, they're you know arcade games at that point. You had your your pick of Galaga, Frogger, and there were some story elements. I remember it was a big deal that if you remember Pac-Man, there were these sort of cut scenes between the stages, certain stages where it would imply this sort of storyline. Meeting Ms. Pac-Man, which spawned into a whole another game, of course. But it was really, again, there were games around this time that were really picking up this mantle of games as being a form of uh, literature that could be read in new ways. Conventional. Yes, we have text, but also really interacting with this new space that we had on screen. And this is kind of an exciting time for games because the producers were putting together some projects that were um, fun, and although I'm sure that their business model included generating some sort of profit to keep them sustainable, we really didn't have anything what we would consider, say, a triple A title. King's Quest, Sierra was probably one of the few producers that were making games that, for that time, very few people had computers. Very few people were using them to play games. So this was kind of a niche market. And the games that were coming out at the time, we'll explore them a lot in this series. Right. So this is, by the way, Old School. My name is Chris Perzicki. I'm instructor here at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, streaming with the Center for Games and Interactive Media here on campus. And the this series we're going to look at a lot of old games, and later as we go through, depending, this is sort of a trial run. I just want to make sure uh, all my hardware is working, all the connections are being made, and everything makes sense. And so far, so good. I'm watching the little bars bounce up and down, so we should be good with audio. And the sound for the game is can be pretty jarring, especially some of these older games. The sound effects are very digital, and sort of they hit the ear in a very in a very unique way. Later on in the series, the purpose of the series is to think about new games and how they connect to some of these earlier experiments. And to be perfectly honest, I don't have what I would compare Starflight to as some adventure games, current adventure games. I'm actually thinking along the lines of, is it Starfield? Is that the new one from Bethesda? That would be a good, interesting comparison. But going forward, the series will look at an older game and compare it to a newer game, or take say a remake. I've been playing the Yakuza series, or at least the first game, lately. I'm very interested in how this remake compares not only to the initial one, but the original Japanese version. I know there were some minor distinctions between the original and the original Japanese version, but I've never played the Yakuza series before, so I'm looking at it with a fresh eyes. I don't have anything to compare it to, and so it'd be interesting to compare it to the original Japanese version. And we'll play PC games, but as I dig out the consoles from wherever they were collecting dust, I'll hopefully introduce some of those as well. Got some PlayStation, Xbox, Wii games, but really the focus is going to be on those older PC games. But sometimes you have to go back to consoles and compare them to that, or even comparing the console version to the PC version is always an interesting one. As someone who, say, for example, can never play a first-person shooter on a console, it's just too difficult. I can't imagine why anyone would want to use a controller for that. But that people are better at those things than I am, so more power to them. So anyway, that's the gist of this. Hopefully, the sound is coming through and everything is streaming properly. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so we have sort of talked over things, but Roger Wilco is, I think he wakes up from his closet, and he is, or I think he was taking a nap, and the alarm is going off. And this is also, we have let's see if we, now one of the tricks to these games is if you notice the speed of playing one of these games is excruciating. One of the Okay, the sound's still going. Thankfully, the sound of the alarm is no longer on there. So one of the tricks, the speed of these games is pretty awful, and I believe you can even go slower, which comes in handy later on. Okay, so there's um, there's some interesting experiments with the uh, interface as well that we could dig into. I'm going to go normal, but so you can see got some coworkers down there in a nice little pile down on the lower deck. So I've played this several times before. Actually, was tempted to do a speed run of this, but again, it's um, once you the oh, guy comes in. Walk over. So the primary interface is, in addition to the direction buttons, is typing in commands. And so you had this, this game is provided through Good Old Games, and they usually provide the materials, and I'm sure they did with this one. Maybe in another version once things are going and we're on a steady schedule. It's always good to go back to the original artifacts. These games came with weird devices that rather than the codes that we used to have to enter in manually or logging in through accounts now, we had these bizarre little uh, co- wheels that you would have to spin and line things up to make the code and enter that information in. I don't remember what it was for Space Quest, but if they even had anything. But what came in the box was more than a game. It was these all of these other materials, which is, I think, one of the for me, it's one of the more fascinating qualities of those some of those older games is just the crap they used to come with. Right? When we get into one of my favorite games, in fact, I'll probably spend a good chunk of time this semester digging into Ultima 4. Probably one of the most important games in my life, but really it signifies something in the way games were became a cultural phenomenon. And in one of the ways that that games did that, is because they didn't just inhabit the screen. They also occupied a little corner of your office or desk or wherever you were playing those games at. So a lot of games came with maps, for example. And they weren't extras; they were just part of it, and you needed it to play the game. You needed, say, Ultima had a an actual spell book in the box that you had to look through and consult to cast spells. It was pretty wild, but anyway. So one of the problems of my stream is that I tend to go off on these tangents. So yeah. Anyway, so guy collapses on the floor. Uh, got a laser hole punched through his uniform. Previously unexposed tissue. Struggling painfully, he raises up on one elbow. Tells you that Arcata is under attack and that the star generator is in danger. You had better leave if you value your life. He looks over toward the shelves full of cartridges and utters the words astral body. He then settles to the floor, lifeless. So we've got here we have our first puzzle. So we've got this situation where the ship's under attack, and you have someone who's clearly been hit by some unknown as yet unknown enemy, and now he's saying, okay, gives us a little code word. Now we have some sort of puzzle, and notice that there's no here something that's unique about these games also. And as I'm playing Yakuza, for example, you're going through, and there are some elements that are common. I suppose that if I had thought about it before, we could have talked about this a little bit more. But one of the interesting aspects of the uh, the adventure game genre is solving a variety of puzzles, like these little, like, how do I accomplish this? And it's usually some sort of combination of inputs, right? In these older adventure games, they really didn't give you any sort of prompt like they do. Like in Yakuza, if I happen across something, it'll give me this sort of prompt. Press A to engage with some NPC, um, to give me some sort of quest. And here we have a situation in these older games where there's nothing. I mean, I could wander around for quite a while and not actually interact with anything because there's no prompts, right? So, but so I can look at screen. Okay, so it gives me what looks like an old. This is kind of the interface we had to work with back at the time. So, welcome to the Arcata Data Archive, Model DX Storage and Retrieval System. And so, one of the common qualities of Sierra games is this somewhat sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek humor that sort of permeates through the game. We'll see this several times throughout any of their titles. So select a cartridge, enter the title below. press enter to quit. All right, so it's astral body. This was the code word that the old man gave before he croaked. So it gives us a search, title found, retrieving, and then there it goes. Grabbing our cartridge. So then I would say take cartridge, done. All right, so now I have this cartridge. And notice that I've gone from 0 to 7 points now. And so there's another interesting aspect that you see, but points have become sort of secondary, or even if they're included at all. But at the time, points were really how we measured our success in a game. And of course, there's only one way to truly succeed at a game where you have a maximum of 202 points is get all 202 points, which of course becomes a nice way of adds a little bit of replay value. Okay, you could go through this whole thing and not get miss something. Trust me, I think I was doing this over the summer, and it took me a few tries. There's this one element in this game that I had a hard time getting through. So now that I have my cartridge, I'm going to proceed. In fact, I'm going to go back this way. Beforehand, though, I'm going to go ahead and crank up the speed a little bit. I think you hear footsteps. Get back in my closet. Okay, so I go back into the closet that the janitor's closet I was hanging out in. I'm going to come out again. Once you hear footsteps, that's usually a sign that there's a baddie on the way. And the problem with going at this at fast speed is it's very hard. It's hard to get the timing right. You hear footsteps. Look at body. Appears to be one of your crewmates. He is non-functional. Yeah, again, here's that sort of sarcastic language. Search body. And find, after searching the body, find a key card. So again, it's pretty handy to remember some of this. What's actually fascinating about these games, talking with my brother, we both grew up playing this, and what's amazing is the muscle memory. Like there's always something, even though it's been decades since playing this game, that you know that there's something in there because you've done these moves so many times. Let's go through here. The doorway. Yep. Oh, so I just made a big circle. Okay. Search this body. That's only some heat fused chunks in varying sizes, which were probably melted by a pulsar ray blast. Nothing to waste time on. Done. Oopsie. So there you go. The alien observes his handiwork briefly, then leaves, and that's it. As you lie on the floor in a smoldering carbo-gelatinous heap, you can't help but wonder why you bothered getting up this morning. Yeah, so thank you for playing Space Quest. Too bad you failed miserably and doomed all your people to a horrible death at the hands of the Saurians. If you continue playing as skillfully as this, we'll never have a chance for a sequel. Better luck next time. So they really didn't even pull any punches. So I guess the closest game to this, I can't remember what it was. It was almost like a Bethesda look-alike. Outer Worlds was very similar to this, like the humor and the subtle sort of satire of the genre. Here we have a very similar take on it. So obviously we're gonna try it again, but in the meantime, let's take a look at the interface. Okay, so here we have our menu, and so typically you would, if I remember right, you would escape, about Space Quest. doing it. Huh. So we could restore, action, inventory, special, speed, all that good stuff. So we will restart. You are startled by the sound of an alarm. It is followed by an urgent voice, which warns that Arcada has been boarded by unknown intruders. It ends abruptly, thankfully, because that is not a good sound. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn through here. So notice, so I've gone in this room once. We start to build this sort of step-by-step process. Okay, so I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go get... Oh, here goes. Here's the old guy. Okay. A man you recognize as one of the lab scientists enters. He appears to be injured. He's got quite a skip in his step. In his current condition, the man is not much of a conversationalist. Look, man. A large laser hole has been burned into his uniform, through which you can see previously unexposed tissue. Struggling painfully, he raises up on one elbow. Tells you that the Arcada is under attack and that the star generator is in danger. You had better leave if you value your life. He looks over towards the shelves full of cartridges and utters the words astral body, then settles to the floor lifeless. Go ahead and search the body real quick. Get that over with. Okay, that's right. Didn't have anything. Body. So I had 2 points for talking to the man, and I get 5 points for grabbing the cartridge. Take cartridge. So I believe if my inventory, I've got my cartridge. I mean, just so stark. There's really not a whole lot. They don't even bother making the interface attractive. Space Quest was designed and created by Mark Crow and Scott Murphy. So one of the other ambitions of this stream is to really think about the people who made these games, especially the older ones. We were just talking at the CGIM, the Center for Games and Interactive Media, earlier about one of my interests is archiving some of these older games because we're losing them fast, and thankfully we've got platforms like Good Old Games who are doing that work of preserving a lot of them, but we're losing a lot more. So let's see. So it's cool to hear some of these stories and hear where they come from. So we got that. Let's try help. So it gives you a fairly simple, straightforward help screen. Save it. So you can see all my saves. So again, I've done this before. And this is, I believe it's not Scrum. I can't remember the name of the emulator that is used. So do the old school one. Now we're saved. All right, so you can kind of see. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna try setting up a joystick for this, but anyway, so we should be good. There's a baddies. Don't think there's anything in here, but search. there. Oh, dang it. So, and this is kind of how these games were played. You did not, you just kept doing it over and over and over again. And then you would finish, and then you would start all over again because you missed um, God knows how many things that you didn't catch. So, yeah, it's brutally unfair um, in a lot of ways. Suppose I could just hit F7. Do a lot of this back and forth, waiting footsteps. But now I know there's nothing in the bodies there, so I'm not going to worry about that. Something here. Nope, guess not. I was wrong. It's a matter of finding the right elevator. There's your search of the laser riddled corpse reveals nothing. Okay. I'm going to come back to this later because I know I'm going to have to later on, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Here. So here's where the star generator was. Is anything here? Found. This is the star generator development laboratory. Due to your incredibly low security clearance, you have never been allowed access to this room. Again, just a lowly janitor. Look out window. Peering through the large observation windows, you take in the immense panorama of space and stars. So again, like there's no prompting. That was just a lucky guess. I don't know if I've ever done that before, where I looked out the window. I didn't get any points for it, but your mind is boggled. Again, look at panel. Just guessing what may or may not work based on previous experience, and kind of having a general sense of what the commands are. Usually in action followed by the subject that will receive that action. Your mind is boggled in attempting to understand the function of the various buttons, switches, lights, and displays. It appears the board is not operating. So Roger Wilco here is a very simple, humble, another reason I like these games is the specificity. You really have to be, and this is a little bit more forgiving than, say, Zork, which we will certainly look at some point. You really had to have almost an insider's level of information to proceed. Go ahead. I think I'm missing something. I can't remember what it is, though. Shit. Let's start again. It's all over. Over and over again. And there might be other ways of doing this, but this is, again, kind of operating on muscle memory here. Get in there. So here you go. As you slip away, the alien decides that one of his comrades will take care of you. That, and there were no points. thought there was. Oh, I don't know if I got the key card yet. Let's see. Tori. Don't have the key card yet. Take. See, again, unforgiving. I could have wandered all that way and not even paying attention. No spell check either. Search the damaged body of your fellow crewman. You get too close. You get too close. A glimpse of the injury. In the pockets you find nothing. A little grammatical, interesting. Anyway, look panel. On the console by the window are two buttons marked open bay door and close bay door. Push, open. That opens up our bay door. Slide the key card into its slot. You hear an audible click. You take the key card back. Points for that. So we'll lay here. Open up this. Buttons here, a left button and a right button. Press left. This is a standard issue flight suit designed to protect the wearer from the unique conditions of space travel. Take suit. I got my suit on. Look. Looks like some electrical gadget of some sort. Take gadget. Okay. So my inventory, gadget. Here. Console is adorned with many status indicators. One button on the right is marked airlock. Push airlock. Right? Not something you want to do without your spacesuit. No. Looking at the console, you see a button marked platform. There are also some gauges which don't interest you. So push platform. So there is now an escape pod here. So here's my escape. Love this perspective of the hangar here. Oh, there you go. Congratulations, Roger Wilco. You found your way off the Arcada and escaped obvious danger. Unfortunately, you will never be seen or heard from again as you float gracefully through the heavens for eternity. Thank you for playing. So I've got to go do that all over again. And so, again, it becomes crucial to save early, save often. You would think that I would know better, but take key card. Let's do it again. Why do I have 8 points now? Oh, push airlock, push open. Okay. I don't think there was anything in there. Oh shit. Um, save. Key card. So again, you can kind of see how this would become sort of ingrained. Why 35, 40 years after playing these games, you can still sort of remember. You have this amazing recall power of like, oh, there was something here. Though again, I did play this over the summer, so um, that's a little bit fresher. Push platform. Okay, so again, you're probably go through and remove some of these. Okay, so here we have another view. This there's a little bit of mixing up, but it's mostly a third person side scrolling thing that's happening. But every once in a while, it gives you these um, still third person, but a little bit more closer to a first person view. So I can't remember what. Look around. You were sitting in the pilot seat of the escape pod facing toward the window. There is a dark console before you, a seat and seatbelt straps at your side. Confused as to what you should do, you wish you would have paid more attention during crew orientation. Oh, there's that humor again. So again, like one of the qualities of gameplay that I've gotten away from is reading. Right, a lot of the adventure and RPG games, have a little bit of reading, but I rarely find value in it. Like going through, it is. So, for example, like again, playing Yakuza recently, and the game, there's a lot of. It was groundbreaking for its time because you had a lot of interaction with NPCs, and again, it had been done before, but it's pretty significant. The extent to which games like that really had you interacting with people. That said, the dialogue is um, pretty lame. Not it's hard to sort of like keep going through it. And there's interesting things happening with Yakuza, but here the reading becomes really important because it tells you a little bit of something, gives you some clues as to what you can expect if you're lucky. That's not always the case. Like there was nothing in the um, I haven't seen clues as explicit so far, although I wasn't really looking around as much as I should have, perhaps. All right, so fasten seatbelt. Remember this one. And there's a dark console. Look at console consists of a screen, pod status indicators, a throttle, and some buttons. The buttons are marked auto nav, power, and don't touch. Now let's see. I'm gonna push power. Green. Escape pod systems activated, ready for instructions. Emergency program initiated. Pull throttle to execute launch sequence. Let's say, what was look panel? Push auto nav. throttle. Oh, closed door. Thank you. Yep, see. Okay. It would appear you've met with an untimely demise. So it tells me, at least it was nice enough to tell me that my um, door was open before blowing me up. Closed door. Okay. Fasten seatbelt. Push power. Push auto nav. Pull throttle. There we go. So congratulations, you have narrowly escaped an explosive death. Don't start patting yourself on the back just yet, though. You are now traveling aimlessly through the cosmos. Okay, so look, screen. All systems are go. Push. Monitor flashes. You study it to see what new information is being displayed. Okay, so because the AutoNav system is locked into the small planet of Corona and the pod has begun its approach. Nothing to do now, but hang on. After a skull-jarring landing, you peer through the shattered viewing port onto the desert landscape. A feeling of utter desolation settles in. You're in a fine mess now, Roger Wilco. Unfasten seatbelt. Oops. Seatbelt. Open door. The door has been permanently opened by the impact of the landing. Exit pod. Okay. So here's another one that took me way too long. I actually had to look online to see what the um, thing was. But here is a part that I know just from searching that I have to take. Look, pod seems to be semi-destroyed. Take glass. So here I move to the front of the pod, and it gives me um, another output. Pod seems to be semi-destroyed. A glimmering catches your eye. Upon closer inspection, you see that a piece of highly reflective glass is broken out of the pod window. Well, obviously, if they're going to mention it, that means I should be taking it, right? But again, this is one of those, if I hadn't moved... Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay, so I got to do this all over again because I didn't save. Pod. Closed door. Push power. Push auto nav. Push auto nav. Full throttle. Now you would think that if you're used to playing games, there's usually, when you have something significant like that happen, there's usually an autosave. Nope. It's a beautiful, 16 color. Beautiful 16 color graphics, I think. I can't remember what it is. I'll have to look that up for next time. Unfasten belt. Exit. Okay, look around, see if there was take kit. Ah, it's the survival kit. Just because I remembered it was there. I'm not even sure how you would notice that. That's pretty important. Okay, so just to pause so I don't get the... Actually, I'll just go ahead and save. wandering around the desert. Nope, can't go that way. You have just become a vertical meal for the local welcoming committee. All right, so store that. So I don't want to, I can't go that way. I'm gonna go this way. Oh, I didn't take the glass yet. Start to get into a little bit of a. Oh, there's something later on here, but I can't remember what it is. There's a few things happening here. You know, we've got this. Now we get into these more three-dimensional spaces. So again, as you wander through here, it becomes I don't even think the spider comes timing wise. Whatever is in that hole, just enjoy lunch. On you. This should teach you to be cautious when encountering alien holes. So you can start to get the gist of this game. It moves fairly quickly. It's not very forgiving. A lot of these sorts of let's move from screen to screen. Oh, get out of there. Suddenly you see a large black metal sphere falling out of the sky, a Sarian spider droid. Upon touching down on the planet's surface, it sprouts legs and begins its search for you. You recall from an article in Space Piston magazine that this droid is designed to seek out organic life forms and self-destruct when contact is made. Okay. And it's just going to keep doing this. Notice the skull there. I'll get to that in a minute. Know that it can't follow me this way, so I'm going to go up here. Notice this skull. I remember that was an Easter egg, I guess. Let's walk across once. Notice the little cracks that appeared after I. Going to push rock. So the timing for this is pretty unforgiving too. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. The heat is causing you to develop quite a thirst. A drink of water would certainly be most pleasant. You gotta wait. It was not known that you are a master of the rock. That was a fine effort. All right, so here we have that was successful. Better make sure I save. Okay, because that's a good one. Oh, water. Let's see. Open kit. This is your survival kit. It contains a xenon army knife and a can of dehydrated water. Place your lips to the nozzle and draw a fluid. Not a very reasonable facsimile of water is released slowly. While tasting slightly terrible, it quenches your thirst, at least for the time being. Now, there is. I remember the procedure here. I think I need to go. Oh, dang it. Falling damage. High atop a rocky plateau, near two halves of an arch, the desert below seems to stretch to infinity. So just knowing that there's an elevator there. Look around. This is one end of what appears to be a large cavern. The only way to go is to the left. There is a rock nearby. You just checking on some things here, timing wise. Let's see, where are we at here? Okay. I'm going through the caverns now. This is kind of a tricky. So again, you have this. Here we have a cave. What am I missing here? Oh, here we go. Without knowing, probably wouldn't know that there's a rock there that you can pick up. It just sort of blends in. Again, like one of the frustrations that I have always had with these games is, and I rarely play modern ones, uh, is the just those little components that would be impossible to know were there unless you had some sort of background information or some sort of help guide, which if you didn't have internet access, which was pretty rare, very few people had it when these games were around, and those screeching modems and all that good stuff. um, these were you had help guides that you could get a hold of and print off on your dot matrix printer, so you had a stack of helpful information. Um, but very little information. Again, very unforgiving. Here is, I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to try to do is save more often and go through all of the horrible tortures. So yeah, we've got, let's slow down the speed a little bit too, I think. You can see the speed is kind of important as we go forward. Again, yeah, I'm going to avoid that guy. You can see the animations to this are these games are so crude, but still, what's always impressive is the amount of um, emotion. This kind of laughable kind of death, being squeezed through a great. Uh, go through this again. And again, without knowing that you could sidle along the edge there. Look. Another large chamber in the underground complex. There is a path on the back wall, which there is not accessible from the bottom. Okay. Place rock. The geyser cone here is rhythmically spewing hot steam. Place rock in cone. Try as you might, the darn door won't open for you. Rock in hole. There we go. So again, you can't really proceed anywhere. You've got those two rooms to go to. So if you didn't know that the rock was there, you couldn't put the rock in this geyser. If you didn't know that was what to do, it's these little things. You know, maybe others are more capable than I am, but those types of things would not, I would not understand at all. Save, look. Gaze intently at the purplish pool of liquid, the first real sign of moisture on the planet. The pool seems to have no bottom. The gentle dripping has a soothing effect, on your frazzled nerves. Um, I'm going to drink it just because I know what happens. This one's kind of an interesting one. Go through these, and again, you think back to this time, and you have these spaces that you can really navigate through. It's almost like this three-dimensional maze, and you so that okay, so here we have another puzzle. Laser, which I know that if I go through it, cut it into pieces. Glass in laser. So again, you could go get all this way, not have any way out of these caves, not be able to go forward unless you had that piece of glass. So that one took me a long time to figure out too. You have quite cleverly turned the beam onto itself, frying it into unoperability. So here's one. For the sake of time, I'm gonna those drips will kill you if they hit you, so just gonna keep going. You're getting to I think the part that as soon as you enter the room, you find yourself surrounded by darkness. Suddenly, you become aware of the fact that you cannot move or speak. A strange, unknown force has taken over. When this happened in this game, you it was like seeing Star Wars in the theaters for the first time. You're like, this is amazing. A massive holographic image appears before you. You sense that you are the only life form in the area. Because of your inability to understand the alien's language, he has sent you back to the surface. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's cool. However, no, let me do that again. A fairly slow moving. Oh, no. Turn on gadget. Gadget is a translator. Again, not sure how I would know that otherwise. The only way to do those drips is slow. Well, get to the next part and I'm going to shut her down, I think. Some holographic image. Yeah, we saw this. Now we should be able to understand it. We've been monitoring your travels on our planet. It appears that you are up the proverbial estuary without a means of locomotion. Obviously in need of transportation. Let us see if you are worthy of our assistance. On the surface lives a beast called Orat. He proves to be a bit of an annoyance on occasion. Dispose of him and bring back evidence of your conquest. Only then will I deal with your plight. Good luck, strange one. So now it is prompting me to kill this creature. I can't remember exactly. Can of dehydrated water. Okay. So there were a number of ways to kill the monster. But I'm going to go ahead and close up shop real quick and move on. What is that up there? Oh, it's just a reflection. Can you notice the cracks as I walk over this bridge? Creature is in that cave there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I don't think he's in here though. No. This is another one we got to slow down the speed a little bit. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and quit. And so that is the first portion of Space Quest. We'll try to dig in next time. We'll dig into the origins of this. Maybe get out some of the materials that Good Old Games here provided us with, and really dig into some of the um, other components and elements that made up some of these old school games. Also, I'll try to think some more about like what to compare it to. Again, one of the ideas is to start to see how these games play out. And I have some puzzle games, some adventure games. Those have not stopped being made. Quite a prolific library out there of adventure games. So could do that, or also could compare it to, um, some of our other science fiction uh, puzzle games that are out there and see how those compare. So I have to take a little bit of a look and see what's going on. But otherwise, thanks for joining this inaugural edition of Old School. Next time should be a little bit longer. Try to keep them around a couple hours, but this time just wanted to make sure everything was working. So far so good. Anyway, have a great week, everyone.